First question. You guys talked a lot about the graphics engine being updated this year, new scans from 2K15, as well as a lot more lines recorded. We know we talked about the three-man group, meaning all the lines were recorded, plus a new ring announcer in JoJo. But why this year? Was it just the year that it was time to make these upgrades, or did you have more of a reason?
For the graphics updates,
yes,
or just in general? So I think ever since we got the license over at 2K, you know, we've been basically chasing what NBA is doing. You know, they sit upstairs from us, and we used to be on the NBA team, and so our first, you know, version that we came out on this current gen platform, we couldn't do everything we wanted at the time, especially if you compare it to what was out at that time. If you look at NBA and other sports games, it just never hit the bar. And so every year, you know, we kept pushing and pushing to try to get it done, and we're working with Jinks to try to get the game where we felt it needed to be visually. And we just, because of old gen, you know, Xbox 360 and PS3, we just didn't have the manpower to do it.
Sure.
And so when we finally decided not to put the game out on those consoles, we can basically focus our efforts on trying to put everything we can into these current gen games. So we took our shot, and you know, we improved the graphics, reshot the three-man team, who were no longer a three-man team on programming, but you know, at the time they were when we started capturing these guys. And so, but that required us to, you know, recapture 99% of the audio this year.
That's impressive.
And then getting JoJo in there, and we, you know, I think we had her. It was like 7,000 lines that she recorded for us, and then the other team was about over 43,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of lines.
Yeah, no, and so, you know, it was a lot of effort on all fronts with us over at, you know, VC 2K and Jinks to try to get this game where it's at, and you know, what you're seeing today.
Now, My Career, since that's your specialty, is there a big enhancement you're thinking about? You want to talk about this year?
Yeah, I mean, so this year we included Backstage into Career. So in years prior, we've been heavily menu focused. So this year, instead of seeing a bunch of menus, you're going to be backstage talking to all these superstars. You're going to be brawling with them. You're going to be talking to the GMs. You're going to be talking to legends, and they're going to give you directives on how to succeed in the WWE. Okay. And that's where the storyline is going to come from.
Now, is it one of those things where I have to like walk up to the superstar and initiate action, or if someone I'm feuding with is standing over there, can I just go punch him in the face?
You can do both.
Oh, yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I expect a lot of YouTube videos. Hey, watch me punch this random wrestler in the face.
And then he's getting interviewed by Renee Young, and then all of a sudden he's like, you know what?
Yep.
Nope.
I don't like you.
Yep.
That's great. I want to focus a little bit on the carry system. I've had some time with the game, and I find that to be very interesting. Now, was that implemented just to give a little more freedom in combat, or more of a realistic feel in wrestling? Because there's a little bit of both there.
It's both, you know, and you know, it was in previous iterations of the game way back in the day, and we felt like, you know, it was time for us to bring it back. Mainly because of what you're seeing on programming, right, with guys like Braun being able to do what he does, right, and not have it as a signature, as a finisher, you know. So being able to pick up a guy and walk him around with him and carry him to, you know, all these different spots that we allow you to go to now backstage and in the ring, outside the ring. We felt like we just needed to open up what you can actually do. And this, to us, made the most sense in order to do so. And like I said, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but and in your chance playing with it, your time playing with it, you know, some of it's stamina based, or if a guy, you know, can't pick up a guy because he's too heavy, you know, so we take those things into account. So we try to make it, you know, really smart when it comes to things like that. But also, you know, like one of my favorite spots is throwing a guy off the stage. You know, like that is so fun to me. I know it sounds brutal, but
never gets old.
Never gets old.
Never gets old. Never gets old watching it either, to be honest with you. Now I want to move into the roster a little bit. Now, you're never going to make everyone happy when it comes to including people. And that look on this is the day. Just full disclosure, they announced the DLC, which is what I think that look is for.
Yes. Did.
But is there, at least for main disc roster, is there a cutoff date as far as when the wrestler makes their debut in NXT or in WWE? Is there a date where you say, okay, if this person makes their debut in, say, June, then they're not going to make it into the game, at least on main disc, because it's going to take time to make that model.
Pretty much, I mean, we start, in order to get this game done on time, with this yearly annual cycle, we have to start as soon as possible. So by the time we get back in the office, if there are no more bugs that we need to fix or address, and we're also working a DLC at the same time, we're working on 19, just to get a head start on this stuff. And so every year, we're trying to start sooner so we can add more guys, and we could put more effort into rescanning superstars that we felt needed to get updated, or, a lot of people gave us a lot of flack on, how the women looked in the game in previous years. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that this year. But, because it's an annual title, we have to start sooner, which means that some of the attires might be out of date or whatever, and we try our best to try to make sure that everyone up to a certain point, usually around WrestleMania is when we do the cutoff, as far as attire goes. There'll be some cases where we do end up, putting someone on the roster if they did get a big push or a big run. But again, it's all, we have to deal with the WWE and make sure that it's in line with how they want us to, market the game or reflect what's going on the roster as well. Or if we even have rights to some of these guys, like a lot of the historic guys, we have to make sure that we have the rights. And for the people who are no longer with us, we have to make sure that their families are okay with it, and the WWE as well. Sure,
makes sense. And then on that vein also, rankings. I assume that they have to do with the wrestlers' performance in the previous year, like on TV, if they've won championships, if they've gotten more popular, or they've gotten more main event pushes, stuff like that. But how do you juxtapose that versus like a legend? Because it's kind of hard.
It's really hard, because I think, legends you're always going to hold in higher regard than the guys that are currently active and changing constantly, right? And so we try to, we try our best to, let you guys know which version of this superstar, if it's a legend, this is like, this is Stone Cold 97 or Bret Hart, 96. So things like that, we try to do our best to, be as transparent as possible which version we're giving you guys. As far as the current roster goes, it all depends. There's so many different factors as far as, their ratings goes, as far as their attributes, what their skills are, and then how they're being presented on programming. And that can change, like Jinder Mahal getting a huge push out of nowhere. And so, in the middle of production, we kind of have to make sure that we're all set up to, to reflect that. It's unfortunate that, the Singh brothers weren't on the roster by the time we locked the rosters, and so we couldn't really portray them or Jinder in visually in the way he's being portrayed now, but we can do it with the ratings, because that's something that we can change up into the last minute.
Makes sense to me. And one last question, it's a light one. I noticed that James Ellsworth is omitted from the roster. Is that because you couldn't get his chin right?
I like that. Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
There you go. James, sorry, pal. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.